Welcome back to The Big Show. It's Alex Belfield talking to two of the biggest stars in the world. We already spoke to Benny. Next we talk to Björn. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and thanks for calling me that. No one has done that today.
Really? Well, I think you are, and I tell you why I think you are. Everywhere you go in the world, they've heard of ABBA. That must be a nice feeling for you because it worked. Your PR campaign has worked.
It has, hasn't it? And I'm amazed, when I think about that every corner of the world, they probably know one of our songs. And I tell you why I'm amazed, because I don't know quite how that happened. If you think about it, we split up in 82, and the songs are more well known now, I probably think, than they were during the 70s. The way the music journalists talk about it these days is, I tell you, quite a difference from what they said in the 70s. So I guess, but we always felt, from colleagues in the business, colleague musicians, we always felt that they sort of understood that we had a serious approach, very, very much alike that theirs. And I'm talking about, various people who you would never dream of listen to our songs, like Led Zeppelin and others. So that was a great comfort when the guys in New Musical Express would, tell us to go away.
Because it didn't necessarily have to work or need to work with starting in Eurovision, because let's face it, today that's deemed a laughing stock. I mean, you don't go on there to be taken seriously, do you?
No, and absolutely not these days, but hardly in those days either. I don't think that any act in Britain would have gone on Eurovision if they didn't have to. Because even then he was tainted. He was bad image. And surely we had such a tremendous problem to overcome that image in the beginning. I mean, we had this giant hit with Waterloo, but after that it was a struggle to prove to people that we were, we had planned to stay a little longer.
Did things happen out of just luck and coincidence and just the test of time in terms of your appearance with the clothes and the sound of ABBA? Or were you quite meticulous in how you wanted to come across?
No, we were never image conscious, as, for instance, groups like Roxy Music and others. We just felt that we needed to be as outrageous as possible. Just to be remembered, just to be seen, We thought if we were on the Eurovision, we decided on, for instance, a song that would stand out, which was not the typical Eurovision song. And we decided to try to stand out even more with our costumes. And that was the reason. It was never any sort of conscious image to look that way. Look that ridiculous, and I mean, we only did that for a couple of years. I think we did become much more sophisticated after that.
Did you have to rub yourself in oil to get in all that spandex?
I was fairly thin, I didn't have to do that. It was quite comfortable. I was jumping around on stage in those outfits, but they were very tight. Yes.
All right, we're going to come back with more next from Björn. We're here at his home in Stockholm, and we're going to talk about the view. It's dark at the minute, but in the daylight, we're going to talk about what you look at day in and day out. Back next with Björn. We're back on your favourite local radio station. It's Alex talking to the stars of ABBA. Benny was on earlier. Björn's with us now. And what an honour, A, to be allowed into your home, and I thank you for that. And B, what a life you lead. It's not bad, is it?
No, this is quite comfortable, and I can be very private here. It's my own island, and I can shut the gates and be out here alone. And the place we are right now is a little cottage by the sea, so I have wonderful views, and I can come out here and sit and think whenever I need to.
Are you ever bothered by the public now? Do they come and stand at the end of your path, or do you keep yourself to yourself?
During the summer, sometimes there would be the occasional tourist finding their way out here. but they're never bothering me. They're just, happy, positive, and so I just, I just enjoy it.
How do you view the ABBA years now? When you look back, is it like a different person?
It's very much another person. I see, pictures of myself, and I think, how did that happen? How did everything happen? And I don't know, and I don't know that person anymore. I mean, I know roughly what he thought and what he liked and so forth, but I think life is constant change, and people are constantly changing as well. So it's rather strange to be confronted with that as often as I am, with pictures and with television and stuff like that. And to think that... But, no, I enjoy it very much. I think I enjoy it much more now than I did back in those days. It was... what I remember was very, very hectic, very hard work, and a lot of traveling, and it's a big haze.
And the pressure of writing a hit, and then having to write a bigger hit, and then having to find another bigger hit somewhere in the abyss. Could you explain to us that pressure? Because when you're at the top, it's hard to stay there, isn't it?
It is, but somehow we never felt, that pressure, because we had complete artistic freedom. Obviously, after Waterloo, we had our own record company and our own studio, and there was absolutely no one breathing down our necks at all. So Benny and I would, write away for as long as it took. And every time just trying to write something slightly different, take one more step forward, and in constant search of that, the most wonderful of songs. And that's what we did. We didn't think of, will this be a bigger hit than Fernando? Will this be a bigger hit than Mamma Mia? We would just think, if we came up with something good, oh, really, this is wonderful. It's going to be great to record this. So the only pressure came from within, I would say.
And did you know when you'd got a song like Thank You for the Music or Mamma Mia or Knowing Me, Knowing You, that they were going to be as big as they are today?
No. The simple answer is no, you never know. And, well, people don't believe me when I say this, but it is true. You at the writing stage, when you're there with the piano and the guitar and you come up with this song and you don't have any words or anything, you just know that it's something good. But that's all you know. And whether it's going to be a hit afterwards or not, no one knows. And I think we were just lucky that we seemed to have the same taste as a lot of other people at that time. Because I swear to you, what we wrote was exactly what we wanted to write most at that very moment.
And how many got away? How many songs are there that you think should have been as big as those we all can sing along with?
Well, all the songs are there, in the albums. And the ones that never were released as singles were, equally important in the beginning, and they're equally important now, but of course they were not the type that you would release as a single. But there's nothing more left from that period other than small fragments, perhaps, in our minds.
And Benny reckons that 95% of what he writes is rubbish. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, you write all the rubbish in order to find the jewels. And in order to find them, you need to go through the rubbish. That's a simple truth. Which is why I worry today about songwriters today. If they will have the time to hone their talent and to become really good, because that takes a lot of time, and it seems that everyone is in a hurry to write something and release it because they want to go on tour or something else. And I wish that every songwriter would have the same situation as we did and do, in that you can sit for days and weeks on end and just work and work away and throw away the rubbish. And then suddenly it comes the diamond, and then you recognize it.
Do you think, therefore, that you were in the good years of show business, a time when you could take time to craft your art, opposed to now where the businessmen are knocking on your door and the accountant's saying, release, release, make money, make money?
Yeah, and when they also have to, the writers who are in groups have to make money through touring because of the illegal downloading, which is changing the business completely. Yes, so I think we were, the golden years of copyright were 70s, 80s, and half of the 90s.
I know you've been very public about your feelings towards me getting your material for nothing. How bad is it really? I mean, is it literally ruining the business?
It's bad for the business. But I'm not thinking about the business now. I'm thinking about the writers primarily, because I am one. And I think it's ruining the chances for those who want to have a long career in songwriting. I think that's where the problem is, as I see it, because they could rely on, the micropayments in the past, whereas now perhaps they would, have to give a song to someone for cash because the micropayments are not coming in, and that's it's a different environment when you need people like the Medicis. Again, like the church would pay a painter to pay something that the church liked.
Would your advice then be to somebody who wants to be you to keep it in-house?
No, I mean, people are so different. For some people, it's best that they just do the writing. Some it's best just the producing, and some just the singing. So I wouldn't like to give any advice on that at all.
And
I'm not the right person.
All right. And this is a question that you won't be able to answer. But when you were back in, let's say, 75, 80, which was the song in the live show that you would look forward to that you thought, yes?
Without question, Does Your Mother Know? Yeah, because that was my song. And it came towards the end of the concert, and it always went down very well.
We're back with Björn here on your favourite local radio station, talking about the history of ABBA and talking about the future. You got a new musical, Christina, coming to London. It's been around for a while, though. We're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to talk about you as a child, firstly. Were you always a musical genius?
I never was, and I am not to this day.
All right, then. Did you always love music? How about that question?
Yes. I think I liked it from the very beginning, but what I remember most was when I was 12 and I was given my first guitar, and I had the guitar as a gift, for a Christmas gift, I think, and I did it because my cousin said, you must get a guitar because we're starting a group, a skiffle group. He had been in London, and this one must have been like 57, 58, something like that. And there was something called skiffle happening in England. And he started a skiffle group. I got my guitar, and that's where it all started. And from then on, I was inseparable from that guitar and the other ones that I bought along the way.
When I think about skiffle, I always think of Liverpool, because, of course, that was the heritage of the Beatles and a lot of those original Merseybeat groups. Yeah. How influenced were you by the Beatles?
Oh, the Beatles are gods. And I think both Benny and I owe the fact that we are writing songs at all to the Beatles, because we were both in groups that did sort of covers. And then the Beatles came on the scene, and all of a sudden we realized that it's a group. They're in a group. They're in a band, but they're writing their own material. maybe we can do that too. And so the idea came to write your own stuff, as with so many people around the world at that time. So we owe the Beatles so much. And you know that the Mamma Mia, the show, is it's on tour now, and it's going to Liverpool, and I wonder, how it's going to go down in the hometown of the Beatles. I shudder to think.
I think they'll love it, and I'll tell you why. Because if you think about music generally, whether this be in England or America, we talk about the Rolling Stones, we talk about the Beatles, we talk about ABBA, we talk about Queen. Do you ever contemplate the fact you're up there with the best?
It's a very strange thought, one that I sort of... People mention those names as you just did, and us with them. But it's very, very hard to grasp. Yes, I can see ourselves being up there with Queen, but with the Beatles, no, that's too much.
In your mind, they're in a different league.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
Does it ever become normal, the fact that you can drive down Las Vegas Boulevard and switch on the radio and there you are, and then you travel over to New York and you drive down Broadway and there you are, and then you go down the Strand in London and there you are, and then in France, there you are. It's very odd, isn't it?
It's very odd, isn't it? I agree completely. I think I can never get used to that. We did the sound mixing of Mamma Mia the movie in the Brill building on Broadway, and just opposite is the Winter Garden. And every time I went out those doors, I was just looking at my name in 1.5 meters size, and it's quite incredible, and it's unreal. It's something I don't think you never can take naturally, never really grasp 100%.
I mean, and let's put your musical into perspective. It generates over $1.2 million a week on Broadway. That's just on Broadway, and it's everywhere else as well. I mean, people really are into your music, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And, well, I'm deeply grateful. And I am reminded of it every day, every single day, and never in a negative way. It's always positive. It's amazing, isn't it?
How personally do you take those that represent your music in these different productions around the world?
Well, they're in the show. I see Mamma Mia as a show standing on its own. And they're actors who can sing. That's how I see them. And they're very good at what they're doing. Very talented, very often. They're not even pretending to be singers. They are actors who can sing.
So therefore, when you hear a bottom note or you see something you don't like, do you keep your mouth shut, or do you have to put a word into the director?
Well, if I go to one of the shows and I hear someone doing something wrong, not a false note, but something else wrong, like a lyric or a phrasing or something that I don't like, I write it down, and afterwards I would speak to them. And they all appreciate that very, very much.
Because I suppose these songs are like your babies, aren't they? You know them inside out, and if I'm going to muck about with them, you're not going to be very happy.
No, that's exactly right. And sometimes, a singer or an actor would take liberties with a melody, adding something new and something... and if I don't like it, I will point it out. Because there's a reason why the melody is exactly as it is, and it is that way because we've played it over and over and over again before deciding on this is how it should be. This is the final version of this melody. And that's why it feels like strange when someone is taking liberties with the actual melody.
Well, you wouldn't go ad-libbing in Shakespeare, would you?
No, exactly. I wouldn't dream of it.
Back next with more from Björn on your favourite local radio station.